Welcome to another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today, I am so excited to have on a 38-year-old from Toronto, Ontario, a fifth-round draft pick of the Florida Panthers. His hockey journey took him to Canada, the USA, Germany, Finland, Austria, and Italy. He's a fan favorite of the Florida Everblades and the Ingolstadt, whatever they're called in the DEL. He had 31 tours that year, or goals, in 2007-8 in the DL. He's now a shooting star in the coaching world, and I believe he's coaching the Toronto Junior Canadiens. Welcome to the podcast, Vince Bellissimo. How are you today?
I'm great, Wally. Thanks for having me on, and I'm a big fan of your podcast. So good job getting it started, and it's been fun to listen to, and I'm glad to be on. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Buddy, you know what? It meant a lot to me. Like, we hadn't talked since we had dinner in Germany. That first year we were both over there, which we'll get into, but that would have been about 2007. I don't think we've had really talked since. And after I sent out either the first or second episode, I got an email from you saying I was doing a good job and to keep it going. And I thought, man, this means so much to me that a guy I haven't talked to in that long, thought to reach out to me, man. It is what really drove me to get this thing going, was you reaching out right at the start and being like, yeah, you are doing something that's good. So thank you very much, man.
Well, you're welcome, Wally. It's perfect for you, this whole gig. I mean, it's the kind of guy you were. You're a great guy in the locker room, always fun to be around, easy to talk to, laugh with. And so this kind of gig fits you.
Well, it definitely does. I feel like I get so excited every day I get to record with someone. The day I get to record with someone is way more fun than all the other stuff you have to do. Posting stuff and doing this is what I want to do.
Yeah, and that dinner we had in Germany was that was a nice night too. I came out there. I watched you play. I don't remember who it was, but yeah, you were playing for Landshut. You won 3-2. You scored the winner on a 5-on-3. I still remember that. And
Really?
we had late dinner over at your house with Lisa afterwards, and did some catching up. That was a lot of fun. Last time I'd seen you was in the playoff series we had in Dayton. I know we're going to cover that later too, but that was a good night we had in Germany.
Yeah. And how we know each other is the next thing I wrote down, which we covered a few of those. The Florida Dayton series, which was one of the best hockey series I've ever been a part of. The dinner in Germany, and then you reaching out to me, and then also that we had played together for 3 seasons at Western Michigan.
Yeah, and it's funny, about 6 months ago, my dad and I were chit-chatting, talking a little bit of hockey, which we don't always do, but we were talking one night, talking about some of the great players that I played with, and your name came up, and we were just kind of took a moment there to admire the way you played at your size, especially being a smaller guy, and you could just flat out play, and then it was kind of, and then you come out with the podcast a few months later, and here we are.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you. I was always a fan of yours, especially when you're in Florida. God, you got the crowd excited every time you got the puck. It was pretty cool.
It was a great place to play. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I couldn't believe it. We'll get into that. We're not there yet, but thank you. And yeah, like the podcast, I struggled with where I fit in with the hockey world now. I really struggled with it, and I had a really hard time letting go of the game. And the game had a hard time letting go of me with playing for the Ripley Wolves voluntarily, and then getting a Wally night, and everything just kept pulling me back towards the game, and I couldn't figure out where I fit. And this is it, man. I figured it out. This is it. This is where I fit.
Yeah, and on top of that, you got Colby, who's now playing, and we all know he's going to be a good player. And you'll get your fix that way too, for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I loved coaching, and actually, why don't we talk about that now? Because that's what are you doing now, and where are you?
We live in Nobleton, which is about 35 minutes north of Toronto. We have a family steel business that I work at. And on top of that, I'm a head coach in junior A. I've been coaching for 10 years. Started in kind of AAA by accident. And here we are 10 years later, still doing it now at the junior level, and having a lot of fun with that, with the junior Canadiens. Prior to that, coaching the Aurora Tigers, and prior to that, 5-6 years in GPHL. So still getting my fix of hockey, to say the least, for sure. And I love it. I enjoy doing it. And there's been a ton of experience. I'm sure we're going to touch on a few guys on some of the different teams, but it's been really rewarding for me, and still learning about the game every day as a coach and enjoying it. And that's part of being trying to be a good coach.
Yeah, for sure. I heard you were back in the game. Yeah, it was a few years ago, actually. I was trying to help a kid get a scholarship, and your name came up about where he might play to get one. But no, I think that was
Right.
Aurora. But anyways, I love it too, man. Like for me, I do it voluntarily. I do it with Colby because I want to spend time with him, and I get my fix of hockey, but I also get to teach the kids like what it should be like, and and it should be fun. And you got to know you got each other's backs when you're on a team, right? And that's the type of stuff I try to teach them at a young age.
Yeah, and then as they get older, your experience becomes, so that's at the core. Those are the principles that'll always stick: fun and hard work. And then as you get older, your experiences will mean a lot more, than just that. You can add in a lot of different areas and categories, and use your experiences to help Colby and his buddies. And that's kind of just basically what I do. Kind of got into it by accident. I came out of pro and was working, working a normal job, and then um, I got a phone call to go help out as an assistant coach with the '97 Toronto Red Wings. So just kind of come out, uh, work with the forwards, and just kind of get, see if I enjoyed it, get involved. End up doing that, and as I'm doing that, that was a Bantam team. The minor Pee Wee coach ended up getting fired like midway through the year. It was the last place team. So they kind of, we got some good feedback from the people on the Bantam team, and they ended up asking me to coach that minor Pee Wee team, which again was tied for last place. And halfway through the year, we ended up finishing 8th, making the playoffs. And then, the next year we finished in 6th, and then 4th, and then, in Bantam we were tied for 1st. And minor midget, we had one of the top teams in Canada.
Can I ask a question? You said in minor Pee Wee, the coach got,
these guys were in minor Pee Wee.
They
got fired. Yeah.
Fired. So like the coach got fired. So like I don't know if I'd be able to handle that minor Pee Wee.
There's a lot of different things that could happen, Wally. A guy might not be in attendance a lot. He may have different issues or vices away from the game. It's not, in every age group, there's 3 or 4 teams that aren't very good. Not everybody gets fired. A lot of times at those ages, it may be something off the ice, right? Or the handling of a player. So I think it was something along those lines. I don't know exactly, but that's how I kind of got my start that way, just kind of by accident. My youngest brother, Andrew, coached with me for 5 years. We did it together. And, by minor midget, we had arguably a top, definitely had a top team in Canada, and OHL picks, which was like a record.
How many?
14.
Wow.
OHL picks. We had seven guys from our Bantam and minor midget team end up with scholarships.
And you brought them up from puppies.
Yeah, a good majority of them, because I wasn't a big turnover guy. I try to keep the same guys in place over the 5 years. You're going to have a few changes every year, obviously, but yeah, I kind of stuck to that principle, and 2 NHL picks out of that program as well. One guy's already played in the NHL. We got 2 guys in the AHL. So it was good. It was good. And then from there, I went to junior, and worked with the Aurora Tigers, and Jim Thompson, a former NHLer, gave me an opportunity along with his general manager, Dermot Anderson. And I got my foot in the door in junior hockey. And that was a great place to coach, great team to have. We finished first in the conference, ended up losing the conference finals to a team that lost in the Royal Bank finals. And from there, I moved over to JRC and have been there for 3 years now. It's been real good and
JRC.
had a lot of fun. Yeah, Toronto Junior Canadiens.
Okay. And now here's my big question for you. When you were coaching minor hockey, that like you got paid?
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a good job, and I mean, a lot of the guys are getting paid. There's no doubt. And if you could do a good job and add actual value, you're gonna get paid. You're gonna do well in the GTA. It'll be worth your time. But at the end of the day, the best coaches are gonna go above and beyond whatever the pay grade is. That's kind of what I try to do. You don't really do it for the money at those ages.
Well, and if you had that many kids succeed and that many kids get drafted to the OHL, that's an insane amount for one team. 14 kids, so which kids already played the NHL?
So I had Barrett Hayton, who was the 5th overall pick with Arizona.
Captain of the World Junior team, right?
Yeah, World Junior captain, who's signed with Arizona, obviously being the 5th overall pick. He's played in the league, and he's now in the American League. He's trying to find his way a little bit there at the moment. We also had Anthony Romano, another great player who was 5th or 6th rounder with Arizona, who's at Clarkson right now. We had Elijah Gonzalez, who's at RIT, is going to be an NHL free agent signing in the next couple of years. Evan McIntyre is at Ohio State. Luke Moncada was a 5-year player for me, who's with Columbus's farm club in Cleveland. The list goes on and on. Like I said, bunch of kids in the O. It's got to be 10 for sure, and then 6 or 7 in the NCAA and a couple NHL picks. So these guys are still young. It was a 2000 age group, and those guys are still 20 years old. So they've got a long way to go and careers ahead of them. But I took a lot of them when they were 10. 10 years old.
10 to what's minor?
15.
10 to 15. Those are big years, man. And you took all those players through that. Holy cow, dude. Now I'm starting to get it. So now now you're coaching the what'd you call them?
Yeah. So the Toronto Junior Canadiens. So last year,
TJC.
Last year was the COVID year. The JRC, Toronto JRC. JRC short form for Junior Canadiens. And so last year was COVID. The year prior was my first year with them. We set a franchise record for points in the regular season. Finished first in the conference, I believe. And so we set a wins record and points record. We end up losing the first round, which still sticks with us right now. We're working to get better in that regard. But it's been a great program, moving tons of guys on to the NCAA. I get to work with a phenomenal staff, really close friends of mine, and we've got great ownership. Joel Feldberg, Jeff Bly, great owners. Blake Ricci's my GM and friend. We work together closely every day, and he's a lot of fun. Rick Veroni, director of hockey ops, phenomenal guy. Zach Bell, 5-year OHL guy, is my assistant D coach. John Luciani, who's been working with me for 4 years. And then lastly, Mike Durazio, another 5-year OHL guy on our staff. And even Brandon Lustig, analytics guy who was worked with.
Hold on.
Yeah.
For junior, you got an analytics guy?
Yeah, we're pretty heavy with the analytics. I mean, we've got a ton of data. We get an 11-page report every game, and we put it to use. We're not solely analytics, but we do build it in, incorporate it, and it's very valuable to us. Hey, Brandon Lustig's worked with, I believe he worked with the Cleveland Browns, or was it the Argos, or both? And he works with U of T as well. So
sorry,
pretty
so
in depth.
This is just for junior hockey nowadays.
This is junior A, yeah.
Because
we put a lot into it.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, that's wild. Like that's nothing like when I played for the Elmira Sugar Kings.
or when I played in the OJ, right? Things have evolved, and again, we put a lot into it. We go above and beyond for our players, and we kind of we're trying to find our way still, but we've had some success too.
So what it was like? You obviously only were there 1 year. So what's it been like then since with all this crap going on?
Yeah, this year. So this year was like extremely, extremely unfortunate. We had Ryan Teverberg, who's a draft pick with the Maple Leafs, slated to return to us. We had, we probably had a top. I want to be careful what I say here, but we had a high end team. Not if we're comparing ourselves to the top teams nationally, we would have been right there this year. So COVID really kind of took a lot away from our players. It was unfortunate we didn't get to play any games, and we lost out on a lot this year. But we'll be back strong next year and ready to compete.
And so when you're coaching that, what's the age group like nowadays? Is it mainly guys trying to get NCAA, or is there still some guys that are young enough to be before major junior?
Oh, in the OJHL, it's guys predominantly trying to get to the NCAA. There's also guys that will spend a year in our league and go to the O that have already been drafted. So they'll spend a year with us and move on to that avenue. And there's those two different avenues are both good. And it just depends on the guy and kind of what he's looking for and which way he wants to go. I will say JRC has had an NHL pick the last 3 seasons. So it's, there's guys in the OJ on the draft list every year. And specifically with JRC, we've been fortunate to have 3 NHL picks the last 3 years. Sundays at Scotiabank Arena, there'd be 10 or 12 teams some nights from the National Hockey League, depending on who you're playing. So, as a coach, that's pretty exciting. It's exciting as well to be involved with that.
Scotiabank Arena. What do you mean? You playing in the Leafs arena?
No, so I meant Scotiabank Pond. There's 2. Scotiabank Pond is a central arena in Toronto where a lot of the big GTHL games happen. It also doubles as our home rink. It's a great rink. And it's different from Scotiabank Arena where the Leafs play. But they're both called Scotiabank.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a global podcast. We don't know the GTHL very well.
Oh, no, it's a great rink though. You'll find you Google it, you find a ton of NHL guys come through that rink for sure.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Is there anything else about coaching? Because obviously I think it's great that you're this passionate about coaching. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is how many hours you might be putting into the family steel business if you're this into coaching now.
Yeah, so I have flexibility, Wally, and during the winter, coaching's full time to say the least, especially if you want to do a good job at it. So I'm fortunate where I've got some flexibility in the winter time, and I take full advantage of that, and kind of maneuver some things when I need to, because I do want to coach I want to coach at the next level. I'd love to coach in the Ontario Hockey League. If I could continue to be a big part of JRC and continue to build there, maybe I'll have an opportunity in the near future. So that's the goal. But of course, family business at times isn't there to take a backseat either. So I've got some juggling to do along with 2 kids and my wife Tanya. So it can be busy at times for sure.
Yeah, no, man, I can tell you got the passion and the drive to make it, man. And I know the passion and drive you had as a player. And man, if you're doing this well at it, man, who knows where you could take it, because I saw your passion and your drive as a player, like I said, and if you have, I can see it. I can see it in your eyes. I can see the way when you talk about these players you've had, where they're going, and like I can feel it when you talk about it, that you have that drive about being a coach, right?
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, it's a lot of fun. And, I will say as a coach, I'm a lot more patient, right? There were times as a player, as I'm sure I didn't have enough patience at various stages, depending on how things were going. And definitely learn from that. As a coach, I got all the patience in the world. I'm happy with JRC. I'd love to, like I said, get to the O, but, just kind of live in the moment and continue to work towards it, see what happens.
Yeah, well, and you continue to learn with whatever you're doing, right?
Well, learn every day.
Yeah, I continue to learn with my day job too, and Man, I'm happy. I'm happy you're passionate about it. I'm happy you got into it and you found what you want to do. That's what it's all about. Because I found like I loved coaching phase 3 for the Kincard U9 Canucks team too. But I also love doing this. So I'm happy too. So it's all good, man. Right?
That's good, Wally. And I think I think you'd be a great coach. Start at the younger ages. You got Colby there. It sounds like you're going to be driving to the rink anyways. So,
yeah, no, I'm into it. I won't lie to you. I'm into it. And then once I realized, I was like, well, why wouldn't I be the one to do this? I don't want to be his coach the whole way up, because I think everybody needs different bosses and different people in charge of them and people telling them what to do. But there'll be some ages where like I'm really going to want to jump in there and be like, okay, let me at this.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? You get that old adrenaline starts kicking in for some big games. It's a different adrenaline. It doesn't compare to some of the feeling you get as a player. Like I remember some games just it's like you're levitating in some some nights as a player, but you don't quite get that as a coach, but you get something along those lines, and it kind of brings back those feelings, which are positive, right?
Well, you know what it's more like is you're proud of them, right? It's different. You're more like a dad. You're proud of them. When they do stuff, you're proud of them because like you work at it together. And then when you see them actually do it, especially at the age my kids are at that I'm teaching, like when you see them actually do it and you can see how happy these little kids are that they could do it. Like I'm teaching them how to pull the puck between their legs and stuff. And, and then when they do it, you can see like how happy they are. It's pretty cool. You get proud. You're like a dad, right? You're not like a player where you're the kid. You're the dad now.
Of course. And hopefully you teach them a one-timer you had one.
We haven't got into that lesson.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
No, because I'm not sure if I can take a slap shot anymore. I never took a slap shot in practice for the last 6 years of my career, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think Western Michigan wore me out with
all those one-timers.
Yeah. Okay. We got to get into
let's get to that.
Okay. We've been into coaching for far too long because I know you're passionate about, but we got to move on because there was a time, because I got random questions now before we get into where it starts, is Stretch wants to know why in college you did not use a wallet. You always had to have your money in a gangster roll in a like a rubber elastic. You just have a wad of cash instead of a wallet. That's what Stretch wants to know.
Wad might have been a little bit of a stretch there, Wally. I don't remember walking around with wads in college, but rubber band guy. You know what? I still get the rubber band going from time to time. It's easier, right? You start flipping out a wallet. You got visas falling, gas cards. It could be a little messy, right? You just go with the rubber band. It keeps everything neat and tidy, right? And the gas card stays in the glove compartment, buddy.
See, okay, so you explained it. That's all I needed to know. I've never done the elastic band. Never tried it. See,
give it a try. Stretch would have something like that, but you know what? I miss Stretch.
I know we all do, but you know what? I don't leave the house, so I don't need the rubber band. I don't need anything.
Okay, nobody leaving the house these days. But
okay, here's another Stretch question. Okay, do you recall that you would run home from the bar at Western Michigan? Could you explain to the crowd why you would run home? Stretch gave me his answer. Do you know why?
I don't remember that specifically, but I'm not saying that didn't happen. I just don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. Stretch says that you ran home from the bar I'm assuming at least once, and said you had to work off the calories you had drank that night. So you had to run home.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was, yeah. Well, that could have been a thing. I remember a couple of midnight skates going to the rink for that. So that wouldn't the running home from the bar could have happened.
You went. Sorry, what?
there were a couple times where actually I think a lot of us would jump on the ice at midnight, like on random nights, just because
Actually, I remember hearing you did that. I remember hearing you did that. I never did it. Is that right?
No, you should. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but yeah,
this is the passion and drive I'm talking about as a coach.
Midnight
Now,
States.
yeah.
You know what? Now that we're on this topic, I spent a lot of nights sleeping in the dressing room on the couch. That's another maybe unknown fact. Watch a video.
Actually,
you didn't know that.
No, actually, now that you say that, I did know that, but I like kind of blocked it out because I didn't want to believe it.
Yeah. Wake up in the morning, you're right there. Cause we used to practice in the morning, the 1 year at, was it 8 a.m. and quick shower, brush the teeth, you're in your stall, right?
So you slept at the rink instead of the dorms because they weren't very nice either, were they?
Oh yeah, from time to time. It was if depending on how much video I was watching or whatever. But yeah, I used to do some off the cuff stuff. So I'm glad Stretch bringing it up because I forgot about a lot of this stuff.
Okay, well, those were his two questions.
Yeah.
But you're the one that brought up sleeping on the couch and watching video. That was you. That wasn't Stretch.
No, that was me.
Yeah. And I used to hate watching video. I hated watching video of myself because then I'd see my mistakes and I hated it. And you know what? It's way easier watching video than playing the actual flipping game. So anyways, do you remember not a Chipotle, as we discussed earlier today, but a Qdoba burrito eating competition? I believe you battled yourself in a do or die burrito.
The three burrito challenge.
Was that what it was? You tried to eat?
It was at Qdoba, and I still tell this story. And I think it was Reed Yancey, who I don't remember. I don't know if you remember this, but those coupons we used to get in the game day packages.
How could you
get half?
Every program that was sold at the game had a buy one get one free, and there would be boxes that weren't sold, and we would get the boxes, and we ate so much Qdoba. I almost said Chipotle. Qdoba. Yeah, so that like our bodies changed because of those coupons.
So I think the argument was who loved it the most, right? And there was 4 or 5 of us there, and me and Reed were going toe to toe on who loved it the most. And then that's where the 3 burrito challenge was born. And we couldn't do it that day because I wasn't mentally prepared. But the challenge was if I could eat 3 burritos at Qdoba in one kind of day or sitting or whatever. And we had a workout that night. I don't know if you remember. Went straight from there to the workout. And a long story short, I only got through 2 1/4, and I was pretty close to throwing up. And we went straight to the gym from that, and that was a tough day to get through. I lost the bet. I think we may have wagered something there.
Did you make it through 2.5?
Yeah, it was 2 and something. 2 and something, but you
didn't make it.
No. They were fully loaded too. They had the queso. We had a little bit of everything going.
Yeah, that was just a bunch of Canadian boys that had never had that before, right? And we didn't have anything like that really around Canada when we first went there. The Mexican grills, and we really got after it, especially with the buy one get one free. Those programs were key to our success those 4 years. Okay. Well, we talked about where you're doing now. Next question, because it was part of where are you doing and what are you doing now, is how many kids you got?
2 kids. So Sophia was born in 2013. She's going to be 8 in a couple weeks. She's big into dance, good in school. Great daughter. And Nicholas is 5, going to be 6 in July. Born in 2015. He plays hockey, loves it, enjoys it. I love bringing him to the rink and just kind of getting him dressed, let him run out there, and I get to just watch. I don't have to, I'm definitely not playing or coaching. I can just sit there and watch him skate around, and that's been a lot of fun. He seems to take a liking to it. He's pretty good at it so far, so we'll see where that takes him.
Okay. that was part of what are you doing now? So then the next question is, so you probably grew up in the GTHL too, which is the Greater Toronto Hockey League for all the global listeners. You probably grew up in the same thing you're coaching now, right?
The same thing. Yeah, I coach junior now, but I started coaching the
Sorry, right.
GTHL. Back then was the MTHL. And I played for, played for the Marlies, Red Wings, the Vaughan Kings. I ended up going down to Double A actually for a year in between. I was kind of a December-born kid. I was kind of behind on my growth, and ended up going down to Double A. But Bantam, I played for the Rebels, and from there I went to Junior A.
Okay. Next question is, you said you played for like 3 different teams in there, the Canadiens, Marlboros. Like, why do guys in Toronto switch teams? Like, why? Is it more like junior right from the start where you're just trying to assemble the best team each year?
Yeah. So back when I was playing, I don't like, for me, I was a smaller guy. I was always kind of, I was really good when I was young, but I was a bit of an underdog because I just didn't, I didn't grow. I always was facing different challenges coming up. So I bounced around a little bit. Um, Nowadays, I think one of the reasons my program was really successful is we stuck to a core guys and tried to minimize the turnover. And that served us real well in the long run. And for other programs, Wally, they don't necessarily abide by that, whether it's players jumping around for various reasons or coaches kind of making small upgrades or kind of lateral moves, which you want to avoid. That stuff does happen a lot, and I don't think it's very good for kids hockey. And I definitely steer clear of that. So
Yeah, that makes
I see what
sense.
you're getting at. Yeah.
No, I remember hearing it from Doug Clarkson, who was on another episode, and he was saying he switched teams a bunch, and like where we live, like you're literally not allowed to
One
change
team.
teams. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the only team you're allowed to be on. And if you tried to change teams, it would be like you got to get a different like mailbox and whatever
Yeah,
people
there's
do.
12. So there are 12 teams in the league, 12 coaches. Guys go crazy recruiting, and it's kind of it's not my favorite part about the GTHL. That in that regard, there's a lot of great things about the league though as well. Like I said, with my clubs that I coached, minimal turnover, try to keep the same bodies in place and develop our own guys, and it worked.
Okay. I agree with what you're doing. I think that's the only way to do hockey. But anyways,
Yeah.
moving on. I think we got to start going a little quicker here. Is the USA?
All right, well,
no, it's not your fault. It's just that we're grooving. And you know what? You're a 2-episode guy. You got too much going on with the coaching and the playing.
we got a lot of stories to tell here.
We haven't even got into your playing yet, dude.
Yes.
So here we go. I want to know, if you're a Canadian kid, you're in the GTA or whatever it's, right? I wasn't in that, so I don't really know what it's called, but you were one of the first ones, I think, to go to the USHL as a Canadian kid, and you end up actually getting drafted out of the USHL. And then all of a sudden there's people trying to get to the USHL, and the USHL has become a powerhouse, right?
USHL is a very, very good league. If you look at the NHL draft numbers, they're the last few years, they're at the top in all the junior leagues in North America. So it's funny you bring that up. We were on a league call a few months ago, and there was some talk about players leaving for the USHL too early, which is kind of, or trying to leave too early, which is kind of at times what could happen now. But yeah, it came up on the league call that was the guy that kind of started that trend. In my defense, I had 98 points in the OJ before, moving on to to another league. Whereas, guys may try and leave with, a point a game or stuff like that now, which, they should make sure they're fully developed before they move on. But yeah, it came up on a league call there a few months ago. But I will say, 98 points, kind of, it's time to move on maybe. And St. Mike's, I played at St. Mike's, was a great place to play junior. My first year in Caledon, 2 years at St. Mike's for Chris DePiero, a great coach, who I still keep in contact with. And I kind of moved on after that as an 18-year-old. And I thought it was the right time.
Yeah. Okay. So you actually get drafted though, which is probably weird that you're that age in the not even NCAA yet, and then you're actually getting drafted. So you must have had a hell of a year, and then you get recruited by Western Michigan, and I gotta go pee. So you're gonna have to tell that story for a bit.
Yep. Yeah. So I was at St. Mike's. Like I said, I got recruited out of St. Mike's by Western Michigan. Chris Brooks and Scott Garrell, two fantastic assistant coaches. After a lot of schools passed on me, kind of gave me an opportunity. And I end up accepting the scholarship out of St. Mike's. And then from there, I moved on to the USHL and played for Blitz Littler, the Topeka Scarecrows. So, yeah.
Were you still talking?
Yeah, so I played for Bliss Littler with Topeka after a couple of years at St. Mike's there, 3 years in the OJ. And yeah, so that I did get drafted that year, Wally. I was actually I was ranked in the second round, ended up going to the fifth. The draft was in Toronto, so that was really special. I had my whole family there.
Was that your draft year, or was that the second year?
No, so I'm December 82. So my draft year would have been with the 83s. I didn't even get drafted that year. I got some looks that year at St. Mike's, I remember, but
you got drafted with the 84s as an 82.
84s as a December 82. So really it's only 1 year late. And I went to USHL. I put with a franchise, expansion team in Topeka. I had a big year. Like I scored 37, second in league scoring behind Thomas Vanek. I actually won the top forward award in the league, most valuable forward or whatever. And like I said, I was ranked in the second round. I ended up going to fifth in the fifth to Florida, in Toronto, draft being there. So kind of worked out.
Yeah, no, I mean that how did you get ranked in the second round? You're not even an NCAA yet, and you're like at least a year older than the rest. Like, Jesus, you must have been having a year.
I had a year. Yeah, I had a good year. I set a league record for goals on an expansion team. Well, there wasn't a lot of expectation of that team, and I think a lot of those central scouting guys might have looked at the year before having almost 100 points, and all of a sudden you go to the USHL and definitely had a big year with almost 37 goals and on an expansion club. So that was kind of their view on it. I definitely had some holes in my game, which is probably why I went in the fifth. But it was a good league. Like a lot of guys got drafted that year out of the league. It wasn't just me. It was probably 15, 20 guys.
So then when did you did you cover yet? Because I was peed when you got the scholarship to Western.
Yeah, I got that out of St. Mike's.
Okay, so you already had it on the way to Topeka. Okay, sorry. So let's get to Western Michigan. We got too much to do. We got to get to Western Michigan, and you move in with Stretch. You move in with Stretch. How's he?
Stretch
got any Stretch talk? Great.
Stretch stories. Oh, he and Stretch got along real well. He was fun to be around. We all got along. The whole freshman class. And I got a lot of Stretch stories. I'm not sure if we're going to share them all, but there was never a dull moment with Stretchy.
No,
he used to have some good. I'll say about Stretch. It was unfortunate. I thought he should have played more. I thought he should have had more of an opportunity. Big guy like that, you bring him in at 18, you got to play him, develop him. And even now as a coach, kind of looking back, thinking about that, I mean, he needed to play and develop. And even if it was on a bit of a different gradual pace at a different scale, there needed to be a plan for him. And I felt bad for him. I really did, that he didn't get to play as much as he might have wanted to. And that's tough on a guy, So, big 6'4" D-man, bringing him in at 18. I mean, he should end up being a stud. So,
there were a couple guys that were mentally fatigued by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big regret of mine that we didn't, we underachieved, plain and simple as players, as a program.
Completely
That
agree
was a
with you.
great place. It was a great place to play. We had the best rink, maybe not the flashiest, but the best rink with the best fans. We were in between Detroit and Chicago. We were set up geographically well to succeed. Uh, Brooksy and Garrell recruited a heck of a couple of classes, specifically Dana Lattery class. When
Yep.
those guys were seniors, we had a Frozen Four caliber team, and we lost in the third round in the elimination, in game 3 in overtime, best of 3 in Notre Dame, and that's one of my biggest regrets as a player. Kind of those moments, constant, not constant. We had a lot of good games and good moments, but a lot of disappointment at the end of the year, and it catches up to guys, right? Especially guys that maybe weren't playing.
Well, and
Um,
and how competitive like yourself and I am. Like
we were not happy to be losing, for sure.
no,
And
and
it's like, sorry.
no, you're right. Like me and you are the same. And we did lose a lot of big games. Like I hated the culture around there. I hated the way they talked. It was like, we're playing Michigan this weekend. We're playing Michigan State this weekend. Like, it's like, yeah, well, we're in the same league as them. And they're the same, like, they're just college kids too. Like, what's the big deal? Like, when we first went there, like, we were as good as those teams.
Absolutely. And listen, we should preface this with the fact that we were brought there given a great opportunity. Like Brooksy and Garrell, a lot of teams passed on me. And, I've like 10, 12 teams, and Western, bro, those two guys saw something that gave me an opportunity. Actually, when Jim came to watch me play to make a decision on me, I was hurt. I had a hip injury, and I played the worst game in my 4-year junior hockey career. And they still took me, right? They still gave me that opportunity. So we got brought into a great place to play. We had a ton of good experiences. They treat us like gold. We got everything we needed off the ice. We just didn't get it done. And like there's definitely issues with the culture. Definitely things that when you're running a program, things you want to steer clear of, for sure. But nobody's perfect either. And we could take a lot of positive from that too. Like a lot of those big games that we won,
Oh yeah, no, it was an awesome time. Like the 4 years I had there were 4 of the best years of my life, right? Like they were an awesome time to hang out with all the boys and not have so many responsibilities.
And some of those crowds, like I lost them with the Lunatics. I mean, how do you never forget some of that stuff? Like,
oh man, it was.
We won a lot of big
incredible.
games at home. If we could have played every game at home,
we'd be really good.
We were, you know what, and back to that Lattery, Dana Lattery class. Those guys were seniors. We were sophomores, Wally. Even the junior class with Pat Dwyer, Jeremy Shane. We had a Frozen Four caliber team. I'd say that year we struggled in a couple areas where if we didn't, we had a Frozen Four club, I think, and that was a great team to play on, for sure. Our junior year, not so much. It was kind of a lot of things went wrong, but not for you though. You, like, from a team perspective, I know we didn't do well, but yeah, I witnessed you have one of the best years I've ever seen a guy have with my own eyes. So you were on a different planet that year.
Yeah, no, that was definitely probably the best year of hockey I've ever played. You're right. But the next year when you left me, oh my God, like literally, we never really played together. Our whole career at Western Michigan, we never played like a shift together, like not once.
You want to know something, Wally? Like thinking about that. I was thinking about that, and I'm thinking along the same lines. But I'm like, maybe my memory doesn't serve me right, because that doesn't make any sense in the least. And we're talking power play as well here, I believe. We played on separate units for 3 years.
Right. And like, it was like they set us up to be competitive with each other from the start. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Hey, listen, internal competition's great. I'm pretty sure we pushed each other and made each other
but
better.
What if we were on the same power play and we were like, well, let's see how good we could be. right? Instead of like, well, I want my power play to be better than his power play.
Yeah, and you know what did, and you know, if you look back, it kind of was a little bit of that, and did it? You know, it doesn't make
just
it
a
doesn't
little
make the
bit.
most
Yeah.
sense. But it's like, you know, when you're trailing maybe in the third, you might want to go with a load, right? Load things up and see if you can tie it up. But yeah, that was probably kind of one thing. I wish I could have played with you. Would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't think we ever actually tried it in 3 years.
A shift, I would say shift probably under 5. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. That could be wrong. But
no, but yeah, so
that stands out.
I guess
stands out.
I actually, you know what? I like this when I don't look at my notes, I know I'm feeling it. And you're right,
Yeah.
man. It was, yeah, like for some reason I always felt competitive with you. And it was because like for myself, I had like a record breaking like goal scoring year the year before I got to Western Michigan. And then I get there and you're on like the front of magazines, you're like everywhere. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like what was I supposed to do in Elmira, Ontario? And I was like, who is this guy? And then like literally I never played with you again. And it was like me and yourself and I got so competitive because we literally never played together. Like, what if we would have played together and we could have done it together?
Maybe a little chemistry there. We could maybe add that Gove thing going on, right? Gover, like rest in peace. But we could have had you know,
Gover
that
and Bishai. Yeah.
Like those guys were lights out. But you know what? Like we had a lot of good players too. So if they did go with a bit of a blend, and in sophomore year, it totally made sense. I probably would have done the same. But you know, junior year, it's just to me, it was unacceptable. You know, and that was one thing kind of why I left early. You know, like small things like that where you add them all up, and you're just you know, it was time to move on.
So that is my question: is it wasn't just that you left after your junior year, it was more the timing of it because it was coming into the lockout and you were drafted by Florida. So did they say they weren't going to offer you and then you were like, well, I still need out of here? Or what was the decision there? How did that thought process go?
Yeah, so like there were things you know, things during the junior year that I just, you know, didn't sit well with me at all. And it was tough because my brother came in as a freshman, and the staff gave him an opportunity as well and for us to play on the same team. So it was super awkward. But I knew from a personal standpoint, it probably was going to be time to move on. Like, you know, I wasn't really included in the 5-on-3 power play that year. That didn't make much sense to me, anyways. I wasn't the coach at that time, nor was I an expert in anything. But that was kind of one thing that didn't sit with me. And you know, just kind of the way things went down there in the second half and the way we got knocked out of the playoffs, I was ready to turn pro. I spent the whole year on Sundays, which was our off day, just watching Grand Rapids. I'd go there a lot on Sundays just to kind of gauge if I thought it was ready. And I went without a contract. Like I just went cold turkey, gave it a shot. And, you know, with San Antonio, I did pretty good there at the end of the year.
So that was just a tryout, right? A PTO?
Yeah, it was an ATO, and I played 12 games, and I had 6 points there, and it was good. It was on, you know, at the upper end of the team there in terms of production for those 12 games. And we were on a flight back from Chicago, and Steve Ludzig, our coach, kind of pulled me aside and said, "You did awesome. You know, they're going to sign you in the off season. Don't worry about it. All is well." But it was a new staff from what drafted me. So I was drafted by Rick Dudley, and you know, he kind of they went with Mike Keenan and Jack Birch after that, and they kind of I think they offered me something, but it wasn't anything substantial, and I ended up being a free agent kind of after that 12-game period. So.
And then the lockout happened, right? So then you're out of school, it's done, which like I couldn't, for me, it never even crossed my mind. Like literally, I was having, like you said, the best year of my life, and I never once was even thinking about pro. And I had all these agents calling me, and I was like,
I've always wanted to ask you this, Paulie.
Yeah. What do you want to ask?
I've always, because it's not like we conversed a ton. Like you and I never had an argument in 3 years. Eh? Like
No.
we got along. I loved being around you. It was a little competitive. It was good internal competition. It wasn't used in the right way from a team standpoint at times where it could have been. But I always wanted to ask you that junior year, like you were up for Hobie Baker, weren't you? I
Yeah.
wanted to know, like what kind of did you have some offers or what went down there?
um, I had agents really getting after me at the start of the season when I think I started like 20 points in 10 games or something. I was like lead the nation scoring. And all the agents were reaching out. And well, to be honest with you, Colhane convinced me not that I shouldn't get an agent yet. I didn't need an agent yet. I shouldn't have an agent yet. And I didn't get one until, well, basically until there was a moment where I finally manned up and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is the guy. This is the agent I should have. He's obvious. Why am I waiting? And by the time I pulled the trigger on that, which was the end of the season, when he started making his calls to his buddies and who agents would call, they said, well, I haven't seen him play. He wasn't drafted. He's not on our radar. Just never seen him play. I don't know who you're talking about. And the end of that season, that's what he said to me, is that the guys he called that would be making those decisions didn't know who I was. So then the next year, when we were absolutely awful, you leave me, which you were always on the other line to take attention away from me. You're gone. Pat Dwyer's gone. There was nowhere to hide, man. And
Yeah. You still had a good year though, on a personal level. Like, would you have you had about 40 points or something like that?
Like I had 26 goals or so. Like I was like, I still did it. And but I had nowhere to hide. I was playing against the best D on every team. And to be honest, every time I've said this on one episode, every time I saw the scouts and like, they would tell me when they were there. They would tell me when they were coming to watch. They'd tell me when the Leafs were coming. They would tell me when Anaheim was coming. And I got so nervous. I just wanted to play. I just wanted to just play. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know anybody was there. I just wanted to play hockey. And as soon as I knew that it was getting that big, I would just fold.
Yeah, you did. You still scored 26, and still a good year. It's funny, as a coach, I have guys and being looked at all the time, whatever it may be, NHL, NCAA. There's certain guys I have to tell them, this team's coming in, they're looking at you. You're getting a decision made on you. I'll tell guys. There's other guys I can't tell. Like you learn that after.
But the other thing is yeah, and like you're getting at there, I wasn't of that age. I wasn't man enough yet. I had lived at Mummy and Daddy's until I left to go to Western Michigan. And then I just lived in the dorms and everything's just, and then all of a sudden I'm like a step away from the NHL. I'm like, what the hell is happening? Right. And I never even thought any of that was happening. I was just a kid from Elmira getting a scholarship, and like, you're on the front of the magazines. And I'm like, yeah, like NHL is not even on my radar. And then all of a sudden it was. And I was like, well, I wasn't mentally, I guess, there. But not getting an agent and listening to them that season really hurt. And then my senior year, this is my next story, because I know we don't want to say anything too negative, but I got to say this. When I did go to Syracuse and I went there on basically it's like a tryout. They wanted first crack of signing me July 1st, but an AHL deal was guaranteed. My very first practice in professional hockey, we did a D zone coverage drill. I'm the right winger. Andy Delmore's the defenseman who had scored 30 goals in the show as a defenseman a couple years before. And you do it.
Where do you get you in the ankle or the knee?
Nope. So you do a defensive zone drill where, like, if it gets outside the blue line, it doesn't matter, right? So he starts skating everywhere. He's Andy Delmore. He's the offensive defenseman of the year in the AHL that year. He skates all over the offensive zone. And you know what I do?
What?
I chased him everywhere. I followed him everywhere. I was right behind him because you know what we did at Western Michigan? We played man on man.
Yeah.
I went to pro and I chased Andy Delmore all over the zone, and the coach blows the whistle and says, "This is my first practice in pro. I'm chasing Andy Delmore all over the zone in a D zone coverage drill." And now that I think of that, that was the coaching I had, and I went to pro like that. I was done the first day I was there.
Yeah, and you know what? I could have used some adjustments, absolutely, certainly in a few areas, which would have served me well in the long run for sure. And that's kind of what I try and provide my players now. Those adjustments needed, and that's kind of what makes an effective coach, right? And there's some things I'm sure we all needed.
Wow, really well put. You have really become a coach. You really you articulated that very well. I'm just giving stories. I'm just giving true stories, but that's what happened to me.
So you didn't have any formal offer. Like, it was a leap of faith for me. Just come out, took a tryout.
I never had
I did it.
I never had a formal offer that junior year. When we thought after that season, my agent, when I said, "I'm with you, let's go," he said, "Well, you're not going back to school after that year." And then I said, "Okay." And then I said, "I don't need to go back to school. Like, that's fine. I'll get her done." And then he made his calls around after my 50-point year. And he said, "They haven't seen you play. Nobody was making calls on you." And guess what?
And
usually your coach would make the calls on you, right? But guess what? I'm going to get wound up here. So you know what?
Oh, well, we'll end it with this. Nowadays, if you had had that year, nowadays you would bypass the American League and step right into the NHL. The minute you're done college, you step right into the National Hockey League with that year you had. And that was fun to watch you that year. I mean, I was going through some stuff on the other end of the spectrum in terms of a little bit of negativity that year on a personal level. But I mean, thinking back the way you played that year, that was pretty, I haven't seen too many guys have years like that.
Well, thank you. It means a lot. Like, it was the best I've ever been. And I wish I would have been that good later on, because that's when you actually get paid, right? Instead of but anywho, we better move on. That got into my stuff way too much. You have way too much stuff to talk about. So now we have
how we doing on time, Wally? We're coming along here pretty decent. We're all right.
Does it really matter?
No, man, I got all night.
If people can't get through it, then they can't get through it. Shut it down, right? It's up to them. So here we go. We got to talk. We're done at Western Michigan now. Okay. We're going to move on from that. I think I just had to tell that story. I've never told it before, but thank you for the nice words, Vince. I checked it out. You were like a point a game college player every year. And that was like, and I know this, like, by the end, the coaches were giving me more ice time, giving me more power play. Like you said, you weren't on the 5-on-3. You were still over a point a game in college every year. And we never played together. Like, what is that? We both were point a game players for 3 years in college, and we never played together, and our teams never won.
I got to call you out for this, Wally. On a couple of the episodes, you mentioned that you scored more points than me in college. I don't know if your calculator is broken, but if
I played 4 seasons.
Then you definitely did. Over the 3 years, we both had 113 points. I looked that up, and
sorry, bud. I played 4 seasons. I got more.
So you're up in the 150s for sure. You're right, 100%.
All right, and so we tied. Yeah. Okay, we tied the battle. Okay, nobody won. Can you agree? Nobody won.
Right. No,
because you know what actually happened, which we haven't got to yet, because we're still stuck at Western Michigan, is we may have had the same amount of points for 3 years, but because you were actually doing way better than me professionally, you got me to Germany. But we're not there yet, so we can't talk about it.
We got to make a stop in the American League now, right?
No, we weren't in the American League. I never really got there. We got to go to the East Coast, buddy. We got to go way down.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna skip some. We're gonna skip some of your stuff here. We'll have you on again. So we played in the East Coast semifinals, the Florida Everblades against the Daytona Beach Bombers in 2006-7. Do you remember that playoff series?
You know, it still stings. It still stings. We had a great team, and it was a great group of guys. And I still can't believe we lost Game 7 at home. I really, really can't. And you guys you suffocated us that night. I don't know what it was. If we wasted all of our legs in Game 6, because we came out guns a-blazing Game 6, down 3-2 in the series, and we were ready to go in Game 7, but your goaltender played super, super well. I remember, and you guys were structured defensively, and you got us in Game 7. I mean, in front of a sold-out raucous crowd at Germain Arena, and I remember after the game, the level of disappointment in the room was you just wouldn't forget it.
No, that playoff series literally was one of the best. It had to have been one of the best playoff series I've ever been a part of. There was a game. I don't know what game of the series it was. We played 3 or 4 overtimes.
We kicked the series off with a triple OT in
Florida
in the heat. And I was in an IV in the third overtime in the locker room, and coming out of the IV, you guys scored as soon as I'm coming out of the tunnel, and you guys got us Game 1, and that was an eye opener. We were heavily favored that series. Like, we had a great team, and you guys were good, but we felt pretty, we were confident going in, and that Game 1 triple overtime beating us on the road, like that was, that got the thing, it got it kicked off and set the tone for the series.
That series, man, like, it was so ridiculous because we were from Dayton, Ohio, and we were living in the slums, and it was disgusting. And then we slum it in the North Division all year, and it's disgusting. And
different world. It's a different league up there. Yeah.
It's a whole different thing. And we do that. And then I think this is what the East Coast is like. I think this is what it is. And then we somehow get out. We're down 3-1 first series. We win the next series. We're there. We're playing you guys, and you guys are supposed to just crush us. And your team is way better than us. But we had this coach. So I go from chasing Andy Delmore around like a donkey to then the AHL coach not being a teacher. He didn't teach. You could either do it or you couldn't. Like, he's not teaching you. So they sent me down to the coast, and then that guy there, Derek Clancy, he taught me defense. He taught that whole team. Like you said, we had a structure in defense. Like, defense can be taught. I don't think offense, parts of it can be taught, but you can either see the game or you can't. Defense, right. I personally think defense can be taught. It's a mindset, and it's knowing where to be and where your stick needs to be. It's not that complicated if you dumb it down, right?
And then accountability too, the buy-in, right? If you can get a guy that combines all those, you can be effective.
Yeah, and it's not that hard. We used to over try so hard on defense to try and kill somebody or hit somebody at Western Michigan. Like, all you got to do is just play old
stand
man
there
defense.
with a good stick. Pulls up ice right time, and just proper coverage, body positioning. You don't need to be battling like a psycho in the corner in morning skate to learn how to play defense.
No, I totally agree. You don't need to slash each other on top of the head, and anyways,
that series. So we lose in triple overtime in Game 1, and Game 2 we got you guys. We travel back to Dayton for Game 3. We win again.
Call it Daytona Beach, please.
Daytona Beach. And then Game 4, I don't know if you remember this, Wally.
The ice?
Yeah, actually, the ice was choppy. And then maybe that's a good segue into what I wanted to get into on that series. We were up 1-0 with 10 minutes left, and I made a turnover at the red line. And
Jeez,
you
you have
guys
a
come
good
back
memory.
I remember because that was the turning point in the series, I thought. And I had a great playoff. I might have led the playoffs in scoring, Wally, and only played 3 rounds. But that turnover I made at the red line in game 4, you guys come back with 10 minutes left and tie it 1-1. We lose 2-1. I believe it was an overtime. And all of a sudden the series is 2-2, right? If we end up going up 3-1 there in that game, it's
Yeah, it's
probably a
over.
different series. But
Yeah.
I made the mistake. You guys come back and score, and and then you win game 5, and then game 6, we're going back to Florida for 2. And I don't know, I'm sure you're going to want to tell some stories about that part of the trip. But I remember game 6, we came out flying. We won pretty handily. And then game 7, you guys, it was an expert road performance.
To be honest, that goalie you're talking about was Adam Burkle, who played some games for the Atlanta Thrashers actually before that season. So he had already been in the NHL for a few games. Man, he won East Coast Goalie of the Year that season.
Yeah.
He was out of his mind that year, and he retired like a year later, but he was just out of his mind. And the defense that coach taught me, and he taught me how easy it actually is to play defense if you do it correctly.
Right.
It changed. If I wouldn't have got sent down to Dayton, my career, I wouldn't have lasted, because if you can't play defense, you can't play. That first practice in the AHL was the most embarrassing thing I've ever been a part of. And I will never forget that day, because Western Michigan had been playing man on man to finish our season. So I decide I got to chase Andy Delmar all over the ice. It was so embarrassing.
Yeah.
But anywho.
I remember the left wing lock we had employed. That was in the neutral zone. And it was always the centerman that had the lock. So you're kind of handcuffed. I still remember that.
You're playing
it was tough to play.
Okay. Well, so we got off topic again, because so we do win game 7. Okay. So I actually have a really good series, and I do well. But one thing I got to say is, when we're in Florida, literally every time you got the puck, the whole crowd would like go, oh my God. Oh. And like our whole team was like, it was like just trying to stop you. And it was like, holy shit. Like, I just played against this guy a year ago, and now I'm just like the right winger on the line. And this guy he's the show. And I actually speaking to you, I had the same experience in the AHL. I had played with Pat Dwyer, and then I had my senior year and he had gone pro. And then I played against him in the AHL, and he was playing for whoever Carolina's farm team was. Albany, I think. Yeah. And we were there playing a game, and he was the best player on the ice by a mile. And I was like, I went to Western Michigan last year, and you two guys went pro, and you two were completely different players than I was a year later.
Yeah. I mean, you learn a lot in your first year pro, especially in my case in particular. I went through a lot of difficult times in the American League. I basically played a full year there, but it was a split affiliation with Carolina and Colorado. I was a free agent signing by Carolina, and it made things real difficult under those circumstances. It was just like, there's like 50, 60 guys show up at AHL camp from 2 different teams. And, a lot of things didn't go too well for me in the American League. Like, I did okay for playing 5-7 minutes a night. Somehow I managed, whatever, 8-10 goals, whatever it was. But I was a motivated guy in the East Coast League, and I had a good year and a half there in Florida. Really, it was a great place to play. It was easy to get up for games, and appreciate the the endorsement there.
No, like, man, it was nuts in that playoff series. Like
Yeah.
when we would play in Florida, like every time you got the puck, like the crowd would be like a buzz. And I was like, holy shit, like Vinny's got the puck, and I'd see you do your thing through the neutral zone where you get your thing going. You know what it is. Anyways,
Stretch said I played weird.
yeah. Well, it's more the way you stick handle.
Different.
You kind of stick handle different, right? But anyways,
He's entitled to that because he did. We played together for 3 years. I kind of know what he's getting at too.
I know what he's getting at too, but
yeah,
it's
for sure.
just a different way you kind of handle the puck, the way you hold the stick. But we're not going to get into that, because what I wanted when you said I had a story from that night, when we won Game 7 in Florida, and both teams at the end of that series were like, that was an awesome series. Like, how can anybody be upset with anybody? Like, we had the defensive specialist coach that taught us all how to play defense, and then we had the crazy goalie. You guys were way better than us, and we just played defense and tried to eke out wins, and we got 4 of them. It was nuts. I can't believe we won that series still, because you guys were way better than us. But anyways, that night was the one night I decided to trash talk in my career. I'm standing. Derek Damon was on your team. You remember that guy?
Yep.
He's standing beside me at a face-off, and they're on the power play, and I'm on the penalty kill. It's Game 7, and I say, "You're actually on the power play," and that's all I said, right? Just to, like, I don't know why I said it. Never say stuff like that ever. And then we win the game. And we go out, we're all at some big bar down wherever you guys are living, in this ridiculous place. Palm trees, completely different than Daytona Beach, Ohio. But then I end up at this guy's place, and we're all hanging out, and it's Derek Damon's place, and I'm with your team that night. Like, we're all hanging out. There's 5 of us guys from Dayton and guys from your team.
Yeah.
And he hands me a beer and says, "Do you still think I shouldn't be on the power play?" And this is after we just played Game 7 against each other. We're all hanging out together. And I was like, I'm never trash talking again, because I suck at it. And that was just a mean thing to say, because you know what? He was a good player, and he should have been on the power play. I was just trying to get under his skin, you know?
Game 7 brings out the best in everybody, right? And Wally, you had a great series, man, and that was a battle. I think we were matched up against each other a little bit too at certain points, but I remember the handshake after, and
I hadn't seen you since Western Michigan, man, and we battled. Yeah, it was that was a hell of a battle, but you guys were the better team. We just had the better goal. Well, I won't say whoever your goalie was. I know who he was, but anyways, Burkholz was really on it that night. The other thing was the refs were at the party that night too. And the last part of my story from Game 7 of that night, actually, I'll save it for the Miser podcast, because he just told me he's coming on. Here we go. Next one. You go from there to the Everblades when we're both in the semifinals against each other. You take a DL tryout with Ingolstadt, whatever they're called, and Panthers.
Yeah.
So then you start ripping it up. Do you know that the reason I get to Germany is because you're ripping up your DL tryout after that Florida year, because you were better than me that year by a mile. You're ripping it up, and they're looking for a winger, and that they see that junior year that I had more points than you one year. And they're like, well, if this guy can rip it up in the DL, surely this guy could at least play in the second league.
You could have played in the DL. I can definitely confirm that, Wally. It was a great league. Like, it was, DL was a good league. It was, similar to the American League on some nights, maybe even a little better. But I can attest you could have definitely played in that league for sure.
No, I played some exhibition games against that. Against them. I'm not worried about if I could have played there, but you actually went there on a tryout, and then you end up scoring 31 goals.
Yeah, so a guy coming out of the East Coast League is not necessarily going to step into the DL, right?
Or
Uh,
score 31 goals.
well, yeah. So the way that went down, I took a tryout. I had some options, did various leagues in Europe. I also, you know, was kind of thinking about trying again in the American League, but my experience in the American League, it wasn't always positive. So I kind of decided, let me give the Europe thing a try. Um, so I end up taking a tryout in Ingolstadt, and it's an 11 game tryout, 6 weeks. In the 11 games, I scored 1 goal. And there was, so I thought for sure I was getting cut. Like I had 1 goal. I don't know how many assists, but the 1 goal in 11 games was like I was not on the way home from Vienna, which is where we played our last exhibition game on the bus. I remember thinking, what am I going to do now? Type of thing. Um, the coach ends up keeping me, Ron Kennedy, who's passed away with cancer. But Ron Kennedy ended up keeping me. He saw something. He wanted to give me an opportunity. A couple of guys on the team, I think, vouched for me as well. A couple of the older veteran guys, and they end up keeping me and giving me an opportunity. He started me on the third line, and I remember there was a fan message board right on the team website. So it's like you're a hockey player and you're kind of like you can't read German, and there's you're trying to read stuff about your league and see what's going on. Everything's in German. On the team website you can translate it to English, so you get clicking around, and I start reading the message board, and none of the fans want to keep me. Like they all want me gone. Like this guy's an East Coast League player, he's got to go. He scored 1 goal in the preseason, and we're keeping this guy. So the first 5 games go by, I'm playing like on the third line, I'm playing okay, and I scored a shootout goal in Duisburg, and to win the game. We won in a shootout, and from then on, it was like I just got a boost of confidence, and I ended up scoring 31 that year, and which was a big year. I think I don't know, maybe second in the league in goals, and it was people didn't really expect that, but I had quite the year there, and
Do
that
you
was probably
know,
one of the best years ever for me in hockey.
right? Like, yeah, 31 goals in the DL. You kidding me?
Yeah,
That's got to be.
yeah.
Like I heard that, like, similar to when you were in Florida, which was the year before, which this must be the peak of your career because everybody goes up and down and gets better at different ages. But I heard when you got the puck in Ingolstadt, they had a song for you, right?
Yeah, so so there was like the fans there just because they wanted me gone in the preseason. When I started getting hot and started really scoring a lot, they fell in love with me. Like they went too far with it. Like um, there was songs after like I don't know if you remember, but Bayern Munich, the soccer team, which was down the road, had an Italian player. His name was Luca Toni. Scored like
Yeah.
he broke some record that year for goals by a soccer player, 50 goals. And after each one of his goals, they used to play this Italian song for him. So the guy in Ingolstadt said, you know what, Bellissimo's having like a similar year. Hockey's not the same as soccer, but they try to make a bit of a similarity there and put the same song on for me. So I would score a goal and they'd have this Italian song start playing after the goal announcement, and then the fans would at the end of that song would sing a personalized song for me that went on for like probably like a minute. And the goals keep coming, the song keeps coming, and it was mayhem. We would after the games, like there'd be nights where we win the game, I have no points, and um, the fans sing, they want a player to come out after each win. They want a
I
special, and they're calling me like I had a quiet night, ineffective, did nothing. Some other guys got 2 or 3, and they're calling me out there, and it got to be like they went overboard. But still to this day, I'll never forget some of those moments. There was a night they sang "Happy Birthday" to me, like 5,000 people, um, and it was just like it was like an experience I've never had with the fans in that city. Even just walking around the city, Wally, like I didn't go anywhere without getting noticed that year, like literally anywhere. So that was pretty
And that's
cool.
after going there on a tryout, and I'm just
On a
slumming away in
tryout.
the second league right down the
Yeah.
road.
Yeah. So like again, not totally unexpected going in on tryout. I was one of the lower paid imports in the league. Wally. I took there's 10 imports per team, 12 teams. I've got to be 120 imports in the league, and I for sure was in the bottom 5 in terms of pay. Um, so totally unexpected, but that year there was like
So
I can't even explain some of the stuff.
no, so and that's what's weird though, is that you leave there. You leave that status, because like I had that kind of in Bietigheim for a little bit where they really, 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 really liked me. And then it stopped when we stopped winning. Um,
If I had it my
Real
way,
quick.
I would have stayed, Wally. If I had it my way, I would have stayed there for 10 years. Two things happened. I got offered, a good sum of money to go to Finland, which wasn't the deciding factor. The deciding factor was that my agent in Germany was compiling offers, and I want to stay in Ingolstadt, and the offers at the beginning weren't. I didn't think they were sufficient, and end up getting a huge offer in Finland. The agent tells me, if you do what you did this year in Ingolstadt, if you do that in Finland, you're going to go back to the NHL, right? And as soon as he said that, I'm in, right? Like I wanted to kind of make up what I'd missed out on in my NHL contract. So I went to Finland. Didn't end up working out, but I took a shot, and I don't regret it. But that I end up back in Ingolstadt a couple years later. But it was a great place to play, man.
yeah. So you went to Finland, you gave her your swing, but looking back on it, Ingolstadt was pretty awesome, probably.
Oh, it was. I mean, like I said, you not being able to walk around the town without getting noticed, and people really like in the restaurants taking you in, just kind of the way I was treated, and it kind of set me up to do pretty well in Europe the next couple of years in terms of wages and all that. So
Yeah.
very lucky.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Like, and we were both in the East Coast against each other in the semifinals that year before. And then I go to the second league, you go to the first league. You're like the toast of the town, and I'm in the second league.
You
And
ripped it up too, though.
I did all right. I did okay. We went
Yeah,
to the finals. We almost won it.
yeah, yeah. I remember. I can remember come watching you play that
So
night. We had
don't this isn't about me. We talk enough about me. This is about you. Let's go on to where are we now?
So we went to Finland.
Yeah, so Finland. So that league to me, can I can I can I give my hockey 2 cents here?
Yeah.
I don't think your skating is up to snuff for the Finnish league, but I think your puck handling, running the half wall, being Vinny, I don't think that's the league for you.
Yeah. So with like again, they brought me in there. The contract I got was in the upper echelon in the whole league. Our owner was Sammy Kapanen, who was unreal guy. Had numerous dinners at his house with I don't know if you know Kasperi Kapanen, who's in the NHL now. I used to play video games with him when he was 9 years old. He probably doesn't know that, but
Is that right? So
yeah,
that's what the spider web of this podcast is
yeah.
that Colby got a picture outside of the Air Canada Center, whatever it's called now, with Kasperi after a Leafs game.
Yeah, he used to kick my butt in NHL or whatever it would have been back then. But he was a good kid. Good kid. He was a small kid. But Sammy's a great guy, great family. And they brought me in there. I was the only import on the team. And everything in the locker room, Wally, was in Finnish. The coach spoke broken English. And in the preseason, I led the team in scoring. I had, whatever it would have been, 10, 11 points in 8 games. But we had a couple veterans out of the lineup that didn't play any preseason games. So when those veterans came in, it was only 2 of them. It was Sammy, and it was a guy by the name of Callie Salstead. Callie was a centerman, And as soon as the first game of the season rolled around, I started on the third line. And skating part, that hurt me in various points in my career. Probably, not just that year, but in other years as well. And it was always a hurdle I had to overcome, right? Not being the most athletic guy or whatever. And yeah, that was part of it for sure. But I felt pretty comfortable in the preseason, and at the start of the year, I just kind of started on the third line, and it was hockey wasn't going that great. It was a tough place to live, right?
Where was it?
It was in Kuopio, which is in the northern part of Finland, where in the wintertime there's no sunlight, and it's always raining. And coach was on me. So you went from Ingolstadt, what I went through there, you get to Kalpa and Kuopio. I had a lot of nights where the fans were booing me, actually. So, you kind of didn't feel like I was earning my paycheck, so like in terms of production. So it got tough. Fans were on me. Wasn't playing a lot some nights, and it didn't have the same living experience. So yeah, it didn't work out there. But I took.
Were you playing center?
I played mostly in the preseason while I played center. Callie Salstead came back. A couple other guys. I don't remember what happened to the lineup, but I do remember in the regular season, I played mostly wing.
Because you're not a winger.
Yeah, so it depends. Like,
what do you think?
So I turned in. So I was always a centerman growing up, right up through junior, right into college. I played I played some wing with Flattery as a centerman. But when I got to pro, it was pretty much a hybrid, Wally. I played even in Ingolstadt, played a lot of wing. It was just kind of whatever whatever the coach saw fit. But I did play a lot of wing in pro as well. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. The one thing I do find, I always had success up the middle, but not, sometimes you end up on the wing. I tell my players all the time, you just do what's asked of you, play where you're told, and make the best of it. So I did have some success as a winger too, though.
No, I'm just trying to think of what I would do with you as a player. I think you'd be a centerman for me.
Yeah, that's where I was most comfortable. But like I said, I did okay on the wing as well. Like Kuopio, and Kalpa, just, it didn't work out. I ended up going to Austria,
Yeah, so Innsbruck, I've played an exhibition game there. That's a beautiful town too, right? But it's a little town, isn't it?
It's not that little. I'd say it's, I don't know, 150, 200,000, maybe more.
It's a small little rink though, right?
The rink probably seated 3,000.
Yeah, I played an exhibition game there and got in a line brawl. Yeah.
Oh boy, really?
Yeah. I got hit from behind, and then my team all fought for me.
Yeah. So like, about halfway through the year in Finland, I decided to move on. The team in Innsbruck, and it was Ron Kennedy who was there, who had me in Ingolstadt. He ended up in Innsbruck, so that was the connection. And he,
the same coach that you scored 31 with.
Right. So he brought me there and honored my contract, the full thing. So for me, it was an easy decision. Austria, beautiful place. Innsbruck, I would open my blinds, Wally, in the middle of the day, and there was mountains everywhere.
Not a cloud in the sky.
On the cloud of the sky, not a cloud in the sky. It was pretty good living, and I did pretty well in that league too.
I saw that. I saw you did very well, and that's the same coach, right? But the coach you have, it really does matter, right? Like it really, really matters.
It's huge. It's huge. Ron, like I said, the one goal in 11 games. Ron coached the New York Islanders back in his day. He was a pretty established hockey guy. I think he worked for Hockey Canada as well. He ended up being the coach of the Austrian national team. Had me in Ingolstadt and Innsbruck. He's passed away now, but that guy just, he just loved me. He saw something. He knew how to use me, utilize me in the right ways. And, I just kind of took it from there. And Innsbruck, it was like just kind of putting on an old shoe playing for Ron. And I did pretty well in that league.
No, you did. You did very well. And you know what? I got to say this right now because I've been walking the dog a couple times and I try and figure out what I'm going to say and like what I want to get on. Like, I'm trying to think, it's like, man, once I was from Elmira, Ontario when I met you. I had never been outside of Elmira, Ontario. And then I go to Kalamazoo and I meet an Italian guy, whatever you say it, from Toronto. And I didn't get you guys. Like I was from Elmira. I knew the country boys. I didn't get you. And once I went to Europe, I went to Italy. I played with Italians.
Yeah.
I get you now. I totally get you now.
Yeah.
And I wish I could have met you now than back when we met at Western Michigan, because I understand you. I understand your brother. I understand your family, because I've been there now and I've seen it, right?
It's and it was Rito was the same from Tavistock. Daryl, where's Daryl from? Elmira, Brantford. Played in Elmira with you?
Yeah. We got traded there at the deadline the last year.
Yeah, Fozzie was from Sarnia. It was all small town guys. Stretch was from Burlington, and then it was me. But we always got along. Like you and I never had a beef in 3 years, and we're always competing against one another. But I think there was always that mutual respect in terms of what we both brought. But we used to hang out all the time. We were different. Didn't have a ton of common, but we had managed to have a lot of good times too.
Well, absolutely. I was just saying though, like now that I've seen the world and I've been there and I've gone out there, and I get you more now, like I get you as a person. I get it all more. Like I understand Slovaks. I understand everybody more because I've been there and I've seen it, and I understand the personalities. And like Italians are a bit like, you're passionate. You're like you're going to let you know what you think right then and there. And then that's it. You move on. Right.
Yeah. And that probably bit me in the butt a couple times, but that's just the way I'm wired. It kind of serves me well as a coach, actually. But I get what you're saying. Totally. For sure.
No, I just get you more now, man. That's all. I wish we would have met. I think we would have got along a lot better in our later 20s and 30s and hung out. Well, it's not like we didn't get along. It's like that we would have spent more time together, and I would have like sat down and had a like what are the little coffees with
espresso wall.
Espresso. There you go.
You should see how many of those get consumed in the JRC coaching staff office. We'll go through hundreds a month.
That's not good for you, man.
Yeah. No, but it helps with our results.
Okay. So where are we now?
Colby's coming through. He'll be coming through Toronto, like I said, for some hockey tournaments and stuff like that. Tanya and I would love to have you guys over for barbecue for sure.
No, we got to do that. Where are we now? We
went to Austria, and from Austria we went back to Ingolstadt.
Did we go back to Ingolstadt? I don't think we've been back there.
After Austria, no, we haven't discussed it yet.
So you went back to Ingolstadt, and then it's not the same coach because he's in Austria. So then you go back to a team that isn't the same coach, who the fans love you. So it's not going to be the same because the new coach ain't going to love you like, what was his name?
Ron Kennedy. So Ron Kennedy, Canadian guy, from, where was he from? Somewhere in Canada, but super Canadian. And then I could go play for an Italian guy in Ingolstadt, who I liked. I thought he was a great guy. The GM was an Italian guy as well. The issue that year was my hip. I just battled a hip injury basically the whole year, in and out of the lineup constantly. I couldn't get over it. I played okay. We had a guy that year by the name of Thomas Greilinger, who absolutely lit the game on fire every single night. And he was a right winger, and he led our team every single night. And I was in and out of the lineup with a hip injury. And, it was just kind of one of those years where I never battled injuries in my career. It wasn't always found a way to manage to play, basically every game. And that year there, it was just, I just couldn't do it. So I had a decent go that season, but it definitely wasn't the same as the first time around.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, every year, right? It's just different. It's
Yep.
different feel. It's different feel. But man, having that year, I'm glad you had that first one in Ingolstadt, man. That must have been really cool.
Oh, it was something else, man.
Okay.
It was
So you don't finish that year with Ingolstadt because I believe you go to Italy now and you become a champion with your brother. Is that right?
yeah. So what went down that year was I knew I was I'm thinking I'm coming, you know, um, I don't know that my career is kind of going to end, but I figured, you know what, my brother's team is poised for a run in the championships. And I listened to Lavecchio. He had some comments about the Italian league, and it's proof to his comments are proof to the fact that leagues are different every year, and teams and franchises are different every year.
They
And
are.
that year there in Italy, that team, that I was there for the last 8 games and the whole playoff run. That was unlike anything I've ever seen in terms of a town grabbing a team and packing the stands and the building and the town shaking every night there's a game. And you can look that stuff up on YouTube. That was the team's first championship in I don't know how many years, a lot. And we had a playoff run and we ended up winning it all. So and I got to do it with my brother, which was extra special. It's still it was still on YouTube. We kind of go back every now and then and look at the stuff. And that was a great roster we had. Guys played in the National Hockey League that were on that roster. A lot of guys played in the American League. And, we got down 2-0 in the first round. And from there, we only had 2 losses the rest of the playoff. And the town exploded. And, it was
What
a great
town was it?
experience.
Cortina?
Asiago.
Asiago.
Yeah.
Like the
And
cheese.
that's where the cheese, we were at the factory a number of times getting cheese and stuff like that. The various factories in town, that's where that cheese originates from. And that was an unreal experience. So I hear what Lavecchio's saying, different town, different year, maybe. The thing about the Italian league, the rules are constantly changing. But that league that year was set up real well, and it was well run, and the crowds were amazing. The building was rocking, and we won a championship, and that's what it's all about. It was my first championship, in at any point since I think I won one in minor Adam, but hadn't won one until that time. So that'll probably go down probably as my best memory as a pro. Winning a championship with my brother.
I don't see how it couldn't be. Like
Yeah.
that's winning anything is like just
Yeah.
But like I don't know what Lavecchio said about the Italian league, but I do know that those leagues have changed and adapted over the years. Is like
Right.
the UK league is completely different than when we first went over there. When we first went over there, it was a joke. I would have never even thought to go there. But by the end, now it's like it's a good spot. And the Italian league,
I think it's the opposite way in that league because they lost a couple of their top teams to the Austrian league.
and then there's that Alps league, right? What's that?
Yeah, so I'm not up to date on it. I do know they lost a couple of their top teams. They also decreased the amount of imports they have in the league. So, and I don't know when those rules are changed. So Lavecchio and his perspective,
it all changes, right? Like all those leagues change, like they do.
If you look at our roster in Asiago that year, I mean that team could compete with an American League team. Like
and that's back when that league was really good. I don't think it's the same anymore. I think that league was really, really good back when I was there, when we were over there.
And I'll tell you who was the mayor in Asiago. His name is Daniel Bellissimo. And
the goalie. Do you think he'd come on the podcast?
You'd have to ask him. I don't know. I'm sure he's going to listen to this one. He might be open to it for sure.
Jeez, I hope he does.
You should have seen him in pro. Like
I know. I saw him like playing in the World Championships and shit, man.
Yeah, against Team Canada, USA, all that. Like that's a guy there that at the goaltending position started his pro career in Italy and ends up in the Swedish Elite League. The Swedish Elite League for 2 years. That is not That doesn't happen.
That does not happen.
But that's because you could not score on him. Like, practice. He was good in college. He came in as a freshman, played a ton of games, and he was good. But when he got to pro, he morphed into something different. Like and he, 4 years in Asiago, they started at the bottom. He was 2-3-time league MVP, playoff, 2-time champion, 5-year starting goalie for the national team, and ends up then going to Sweden, ended up in the elite league. That's a guy, another guy with a good story, and he was the mayor in that town. Let me tell you, I went there. I was nobody. It was all about him, and I loved it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I would love to have him on. I would love to have your brother on, man. Like, I'll do this with anybody. Like,
yeah,
like you don't have to be tight buddies just to have a couple beers and talk about your career. Like, isn't this a good memory for like your wife, your kids? I don't know. I think
I totally appreciate it. Well, my kids never got to see me play,
Right. And that's the thing, is like,
yeah.
they don't even know we did all this shit, right?
Yeah, I try and tell them that, Daddy lived here, he's lived there, he's done this and that, but they don't see it with their own eyes. They do get to see me coach, but it's not the same.
Oh, and okay, we are at the end. So you did win it with your brother, but you then play for the Las Vegas Wranglers. So how do you decide it's the end?
So throughout, I was supposed to be done after that year in Asiago. Like, I'd been married for a full year, not living with my wife. And I thought we were going to be, done with it and kind of moving on. I kind of got the itch there in the summertime, coming out of, just coming out of pro, and kind of the weather starting to get cooling down a bit. I kind of wanted to play. So I picked up the phone. I called around for, some American League tryouts, and I ended up talking with a guy, the head coach in Las Vegas, Ryan Mujanel. He got me a tryout in San Antonio and a contract with him in Las Vegas. And he was a fantastic coach and a great guy. The issue that year, I didn't finish the year, and ultimately how my career ended was I had a bad concussion in the first exhibition game we played, which would have been, my 5th or 6th volley of my career. I ended up coming back, and I remember it was a road game in Ontario, and I got hit into the boards, and it wasn't a diagnosed concussion or anything, but it just didn't feel right. And I just, I'm going into my 2nd year of marriage, still not living with my wife. And I kind of, and now with having all the info we have now and all the research that's done, I know for sure I made the right decision to just stop in the middle of the year. But I wasn't right. I wasn't healthy. It was too many hits to the head. And, it's kind of, you're getting up there in years. It's time to hang them up. We can't play forever, Wally. I know you played a little bit longer than me for sure. Some guys play into their 40s, but for me, I was done right around there, 28, 29. And, that was it.
Yeah, no, everybody plays until it's the right time for them. There's so many factors into whether or not you continue to play.
Yep.
There's wives, there's kids, there's jobs, there's how much you're making, there's your health. There's a lot to factor in. I knew I was coming to the end. And yeah, it is what it is, right? It comes to an end. At least you still are in the game. You got a passion for it and you're loving it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally lucky in that regard. And again, I fell into it by accident, but here I am still going. I'd like to coach in the Ontario League, in the OHL one day, and kind of see where that would take me. But we'll be patient about it and kind of see what happens.
Well, the trajectory your career is on, I don't see how it doesn't happen. Like, look at what you did with all those kids. I think your passion and your desire for the game, I won't lie to you. Like, I wish I would have had more of it in college. Like when you were watching video and sleeping on the couch, like I was not doing that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everybody's different, right? Well, I think I probably got too immersed at times, right? And sometimes that could go against you, because
You get too
you're
into it.
too wired. You're too into it, too wired, right? And I could think of a few times where it got the best of me, in the other direction. But we are who we are. We're going to learn from our mistakes, and it serves me well as a coach, kind of being wired that way. So
Yeah, no, sorry, I was coughing. I didn't
no
have my
worries.
headset on. No, I totally get it, because when I would get too into hockey, like, and at young ages, you don't really know. And I remember, like, my old man coming down and be like, I'd have music playing, I'd be ready to go, and he'd be like, dude, it's just a hockey game. Like,
Yeah.
relax, man. You're just going to play a hockey game. And like,
Yeah.
you get so wound up, like, at that age, right? Like, when your end of your teenage years and your 20s, you just get so wound up about everything that gets involved in the game, right? You're drafted by Florida, you're going to Western Michigan, the coaches are doing what they're doing to you. Like, it must have been a mental pretzel for you, right?
Junior year for sure. And you know what? Early in the freshman year, I mean, um, I had a couple big weekends there early as a freshman, and then I battled for 7, 8 weeks on the fourth line, Wally. I don't know if you remember that, but came back after Christmas, turned it around. But that was a tough period, and then the junior was a bit of a tough period, but more great memories than not at that place. That was a fun place to play. We just didn't win enough.
Yeah, no,
Bottom line.
you're right. And we didn't play enough together. And
Yeah.
we never figured out if we could have even grooved together. And we could have grooved together for 4 years if things would happen. But anyways, anything else you got to say before we shut this down? Because I won't lie to you. You were the bar when I got to Western Michigan. Like, when I got to Western Michigan, you were the 5th-round pick of the Florida Panthers. You were the guy, and I was like, you know what? I got to figure out how to be like that, because they're all talking about him. And then, like, I was there, and then you left, and then I was like, oh my God, I needed that guy so bad. Like, because they never played us together, so you'd always be on the other line, and then all of a sudden you were gone. I was like, oh my God, I miss that guy so bad.
That junior year you had was incredible. It would have been nice to be a part of that. But I got to watch you a lot from the bench, man. Hey,
Wow.
you know, I will say this, like as we're getting to the end here, Wally. When I got to pro, I turned into more of a shooter. I could still play make, obviously, but I just shot the puck a lot more. And you know where I learned that? Though I learned that from you for sure in that junior year, because you shot the lights out, man. And I took a page right out of your book, and I became became a bit of a shooter from there because it worked.
Well, dude, yeah, you can pump my tires all you want. That's fine. But like, that time of our life, we didn't get paid to play hockey, right?
Right.
We didn't
Yeah.
actually make money. So it doesn't actually matter, right? So then we get to professional hockey where you actually get paid. And that's when you surpass me in a drastic fashion for a long time. I may have played more years, but I'm not sure I made more money.
Yeah, but I could have that same discussion with about 500 other guys, on the higher end of the spectrum with me as well, as right. So there's guys in the National Hockey League that are going to have those same talks with the Crosbys of the world and all that. So it's all in perspective, buddy.
It's all relative, right? Like, and we all did our journey. And you know what, man? I'm just so happy you got the passion for the game back. Like, you never lost it. I know that. Your dedication to the game, your love for the game, you always had it. That's why you're sleeping on couches watching video. That's why you're as good of a coach as you are. That's why, like, you're doing what you're doing, is because you love the game so much. And you know what? I found my love for the game in a different way, and it's not as intensive as yours. So I'm happy too.
Why? We want to, I want to have you out to a game whenever that is for sure. And I want to see Colby play, and we want to have you at the house, Wally, for sure.
I can't wait, man. It would be awesome to catch up with you guys and get the families together.
That's great.
It would be so much fun, man. I can't wait, man. Like, let's do it as soon as we're in the GTHL.
GTA.
GTA. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think Colby will play some tournaments there at some point. I'm just guessing, but yeah.
I'll be there watching 100%.
Buddy. And then we're coming for the barbecue at your place.
And keep up the podcast, man.
Hey, there's no problem there.
All right.
As long as people will keep willing to come on, just like you.
All right, man. Wait, let's stay in touch too, Wally.
Hey, buddy, this was so awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording, and now it's pee time. And then we get to have the post-game beer.
Perfect.